I'm a firm believer that, every drug addict or every person with issues doesn't really want to be. In their heart and their soul, most people are good. They're good people. We're good people, but we just, we got issues. And if I can find somebody that's maybe heard of Goggins or Cam Haines or, these types, or maybe they just hear me talk about it, how passionate it is, and they're on that cusp, like they want to change their life. And if I can help them out and, we start slow and we get going, and that's what I'm looking for. I call it my passion project. It's not money motivated at all. It's just, I'm trying to give back. I'm trying to honor myself and also honor my son.
Welcome. Today's guest is someone I met at Devil's Gulch, a 100-mile ultramarathon in Washington State. Rob struck me immediately as a really genuine guy. Funny, a proper dirtbag, this sort of quintessentially dirtbag. Like, he's got a thick Canadian accent and he's just a real one, real salt of the earth kind of guy, And when we raced, when we ran together, we had some shared experiences and shared some miles together, but I lost him. He went on ahead to place second overall at the race. I had an awful day, but he was there at the finish line cheering me on. And I wished that the universe would connect us again. I didn't want to lose touch with this real, genuine guy. The universe then did reconnect us on the internet, and I never realized, but Rob shared a little bit about his story on social media, and he's just released some coaching specifically for people who are overcoming or want to overcome addiction. Rob has a story that I didn't know much about at all, and we went a little bit into it today. I asked him about his history to try and get into it, and I didn't realize the extent of what he's been through. But Rob is honestly and openly sharing why 100 milers specifically and ultra running has been so powerful for him, and he does so in a way that spiritually connects with nature and his environment and doing hard things and promises to yourself. I just want to express my gratitude for Rob for coming on, and I just meet some people and I just feel like they're just such a real one, and they're just so good for the people that are surrounding them. Rob is one of those people, and I wanted to have him on for that reason. I hope you enjoyed our little chat. Without further introduction, here's my friend Rob. I mean, we obviously met at Devil's Gulch, just south of where you're from, right? I mean,
yes.
You just come across the border, and straight away, I must say, straight away, I just loved your energy, and I have a vivid memory of us like peaking to the top of some. There was an incline and there was a sign. It was optional. It was like there's a view to the right, basically. This isn't the route, but there's a view to the right if you want to go that way. And we were like, oh yeah, let's go and check out the view. Obviously. Oh yeah. And so we went up, we checked the view out, shared a high five, and then we got lost for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that was deadly. I got some fond memories of that race. I think there was the four of us running together, you, myself, and Jake for a little bit, and good camaraderie and good action. I was before I met up with you guys, like I came out way too hot trying to get up the little single track. And then
we all did. I think Jake was the only one who didn't go out too hot.
Jake's a machine. And then I had to try and get ahead of you guys because I had to take a poop. So I got up, kind of got behind a tree, and then you guys came up, and then we were a foursome there for a while. And that was awesome. Like that's the 100 milers. That's what it's all about. We had some great camaraderie there. And then when we saw each other on a few of the out and backs, I love that stuff. Those views.
Yeah, that first proper peak where you had like Mount Rainier off to the right, and we were going up that rocky bit.
Yeah.
And then we all got our coins, like, to essentially prove that we'd been up there or whatever.
That's right.
And then I don't know, I think I was filming something, a classic content creator, like
you were doing something or other.
Filming.
You had your phone out, and I don't know if you were live streaming or what you were doing, but you were doing something.
Well, I was just making a video, and then I blame my Koros, bro. My Koros, bane of my life. It was just sending me off in all sorts of directions. But that was the first time I went the wrong direction. Basically, all of you sort of headed off back down. I didn't realize it was like, go to the top, turn around, come back. I carried on going down this like proper sketchy bit. So I went down like maybe 400 meters, and I was like, where's everyone else gone?
Yeah.
And then I realized I'd gone completely the wrong way. And so like on the decline, I sort of like gunned it all the way down to try and catch up with you guys again. But yeah, I think I went out too hot because I was trying to, my idea was that I would like use, like before the sun had properly risen, I'd use that kind of cooler temperature to just like maybe get some, like maybe that first 20K in. But yeah, I mean, I've spoken at length about how my day went, but
She got off.
How did your day go that day?
Just a quick interruption to talk to you about today's sponsor, Innovate. Innovate have been supporting the podcast for a very long time now, and I'm very proud to present them to you. They not only make the best trail running shoes I've ever experienced wearing, and I don't say that lightly, they also make a ton of other outdoors gear and gym gear that you can choose from. So if you're just a little bit short on gear for the outdoors or going to the gym, go to innovate.com, inov8.com, and check out what they've got on offer. It is reasonably priced and high quality kit for everything you need to be a strong, durable runner in the outdoors. If you want to check out their shoes, I have many recommendations. inov8.com. Use the code generated by the link in the show notes to get 15% off.
It was rough, dude. I mean, It was really rough. I mean, but it's all learnings though. Like I probably ran 600 or 700 milers since then. And Holly and I, we're always debriefing, and a lot of lessons learned. Obviously came out too hot, which is my MO, and then survived from there. Running with Jake for a while, Jake was slowing down just to stick with me. I think Jake could have just kept on going, but we chit chatted till. Oh, what was the one where we did the loop and came back, and you had just come in, and it was a rough loop for me. I cramped up pretty hard. A Devil's Loop, or I can never remember the names.
I think it was something like that. Yeah,
something like that. But so Jake that was the one you could grab a pacer, and so Jake had a pacer. Right. I cramped up in the hammy, and then that was the last I saw of him. And anyway. All those hills, I can never remember the names, but that was the first 100 miler I've actually laid down.
It was on that loop that you took a sleep.
Yeah, I actually laid down 3 times, and that was probably my 15th 100 miler at the time, and that was the first time I've laid down, and I did it 3 times on that race and or event. And but I think it was electrolytes. Now that I look back, and being in Thailand this winter for 3 months, Holly and I did a couple of events over there, and just living and running. I learned a little more about electrolytes. So I look back on a lot of events, especially because I've always had trouble in the heat. So I'm really thinking my electrolytes have been low. So that's something I'm working on now. But yeah, going up that real grindy hill before we got to Devil's Spur.
Devil's Spur, yeah.
My body just wanted to lay down, and I kept trying to pull up that hill, and it's just like, Rob, just take a lay down. And I'm like, no, let's go. And I took a lay down. It actually was good. It worked. And kind of felt my digestion starting to move again. And this is only like a 10-minute lay down, side of the trail. I think I was hoping somebody was going to come by and give me a little pity, but nobody came by. I was all on my own. Got to the top, laid down again on the drop bag tarp, and then did that loop that we had to come back around. Got to that bottom where the river was, and but they had a cot there. So I laid down again for 5 minutes. And it was a struggle bus.
I'd done an extra 10K because I got lost completely.
Yes, sir.
And I went the wrong way. I was in a dark place. I'd cried. Got to the top,
And I think I was there for like, I was like, I'm just going to sit down and chill, and food's not going down. I need to get food and need to get something salty. And someone gave me some noodle soup. And I was just sitting there feeling sorry for myself. Jake's whole crowd was there, his whole crew. They really
awesome.
helped me. They were like, you know, you all right? They were bringing me stuff. They just brought good energy. You know, I think it's just such a massive difference in it when you've got like mates around who are sort of like hyped on just the fact that this is the coolest shit ever.
He was doing it for sure.
Yeah, and so like I picked up some of that energy, and then you came in, and you were like, "Brother, like that was tough." It was the first time I'd seen you like not just like fully high-fiving and happy as Larry.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, "Oh no, this is gonna be tough," you know. And funnily enough, I went and did that loop, and the sun had just started setting when I set off on that loop, and I had a great time on that loop.
Nice.
Apart from the fact that I almost stepped on a rattlesnake, legitimately.
Really? Wicked. That's part of the experience down there.
Yeah. But like at that point, I started seeing all of the burnt tree stumps were potentially bears. I was like, every time I saw one, I was like, is that a bear? But that loop for me actually wasn't as bad as it sounded like it was for you. Yeah.
And it's funny you say that, because I got to stop doing that. I've done that to Holly a few times, like, because I think what happens is I'm so broken. I do a little looper and out and back, and I'll see Holly and I'm like, oh boy. And she's like, what? She's like, you kind of scared me there, but it wasn't that bad. I think it's just my mental capacity. So I gotta cut that out.
Well, it's actually funny because like, I find that's actually quite helpful sometimes. It like sort of lowers your expectations.
There you go.
It's funny. It reminds me of a race pack that I once read. I think it was Trans-Gran Canaria. I don't know if you've heard of that race.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it was that race. And in the race pack, it was like had some top tips, and one of them was have low expectations.
Right?
And I was like, that's amazing.
We all need to go in like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, man, you have a great story that I don't think I really knew about you. Obviously, I didn't know you before we met at Devil's Gulch, and you know, once we met, I was like, this guy is a pure salt of the earth kind of guy. I need to stay in touch with him. And then I didn't get your contacts, and then somehow the universe brought us back together. But you have an amazing story, and there's reasons, I guess, why you've gone into ultra. Do you want to talk a little bit about maybe kind of your past and kind of how you transitioned into and how you found ultra and endurance racing?
I think ultra running found me probably, you know, at a time when I needed it the most. You know, to go back on my life, you know, I started running trails. I'm 54 now. I probably started running when I was 40, so definitely later in life. Lived a bit of a life of partying, excess. You know, I grew up in the 80s, and, you know, we went wild in the 90s. And, yeah, just definitely went down a bad path, and, you know, had a few things happen in my life. And I was trail running. Actually, I guess I'll go back, you know. I broke up from a relationship, and, you know, I needed to get a little bit into shape, and, you know, I was still partying, and thought, oh, maybe I'll try this running, you know, good cardio, get into shape. And I kind of liked it right away. I thought, I'm pretty decent at this maybe, you know, just because it felt good. And did a couple, there's a lot of stories there, you know, did a couple half marathons on the road, knew nothing. This is probably 15 years ago, knew nothing about trail running, like zero. Knew nobody else in my friend group that ran. So I just was taking it on myself. And one night I was sitting there and I was watching YouTube, and I seen Anton Krupicka running up some mountain with no shirt on and the long hair flowing. And there's probably a lot of people that have the same story like this. And I'm like, what? Like, I'll remember that day forever. I remember being like, what is this? What? There's trail running. So obviously right down the rabbit hole right away. Trail running, it's a thing. Boom, boom, boom. YouTube. Instead of looking for half marathons now, I'm looking for trail races. Boom, boom, boom. And I never looked back since, haven't ran on the road ever since that. And I had a series of unfortunate events. You know, I work on the road a lot, so which leans into an addictive personality. We work hard, we binge work. So we'll work for 2 weeks, like I am right now. I'm in a work camp. Even though I haven't been in a work camp for a while, I'm kind of back doing some things. We can go full circle on that later. But we'd binge work, and I've been doing this since my early 20s, and then we would binge whatever, all our bad habits on our days off, all of it. And, that cycle went through my 20s, 30s, even into my 40s, trying to get my life kind of sorted out. And there's a bigger purpose, and the running was helping, but I was still, a drug user, running, conflicted. I wanted to be sober. And found the trail running. Lots of issues with stories there of, all the stuff when you're first starting out. And then, I had a really unfortunate event of my youngest son passing away. And that took me rock bottom for 2 years. So this was 2000. This is now fast forward to 2016. Ryder passed away. And, I hadn't run a 100-miler then, but I'd run a bunch of 50Ks, and, I enjoyed all that. And I hit serious rock bottom for 2 years after that. Drugs, just mostly drugs and withdrawal. I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I don't think I really was concerned if I didn't make it through the night or through the 4-day binge or whatever I was on at the time, which was mostly by myself because I had just withdrawn, and I had some good friends that would sort of come around and check on me every once in a while. But 2 years of that, and then this is where the running really got interesting for me, because I just remember waking up one morning after, binging on cocaine and pills and all sorts of things, waking up by my dishwasher and saying, this is it. It was something I couldn't get when my son was alive. I wanted sobriety when he was alive so bad, just couldn't get it. This is the last time. This is the last time. It was the last time many times. And so that day I woke up beside my dishwasher, and I'll never forget it. I look at that spot because I still live in the same house. And I said, tomorrow you're going for a run. Today we'll dwell on this. We'll double arrow ourselves, as the Buddhists say, don't double arrow yourself. But today I will double arrow myself. I'm a mess. I've wasted another day, but tomorrow we're going to pick it up. So I went on a run, and that momentum, the next day went for another run. I fell back down. I wouldn't say that was the crawl out, but I strung a few days together of going for a run. Got some great trails around my house. And slowly, after getting back up, I'd fall, but I was starting to go up. And that's finally what did it. And then I met Holly in 2019. I did my first 100K, and we sort of met online after the race, and I met Holly. And I was kind of away from the drugs, but I was still drinking a little bit. And when you drink, when you're in that fragile state, it does things to your brain where maybe you want to revert back to old habits. So I'm like, you know what? I said to Holly, we were just brand new dating. We did this race called the Death Race in Northern Canada, called the Canadian Death Race. Oh, you should check it out, Tommy.
It's always like the Death Race or the Race from Hell or Devil's Gulch.
You would love it. You would love that race. I'll tell you all the good ones in that whole area. But so was working, kind of really withdrawn into myself before I met Holly. It was because I knew I had to get rid of some people and things and in my life, but the running, and I immersed myself in work, and I got a interesting job where I was just basically driving around in my truck and watching people work and, giving them pieces of paper, doing good boys and carry on. So it was a very solo job.
Sure.
Which is kind of irrelevant anyway. Finally stepped up to 100K. Had done a bunch of 50Ks, really enjoyed it. Did the Canadian Death Race, really broke myself. Like a lot of issues on that race, a lot of learnings. I look back and laugh, I shake my head. But anyway, Holly and I met online after that. I think we had both hashtagged the Canadian Death Race. So we saw each other's posts, and, we still have a bit of a trivia on who initiated who, but pretty sure Holly kind of creeped onto me and, hey, how you doing? Let's go for a run in Kelowna, because we both lived in Kelowna, BC. And anyway, we dated for a few months. It was really good. We ran and we got along. And I think even in my darkest days, I'm like, I want to meet a girl that runs. Like, is this a unicorn? Does this exist? Like, I see girls at these events, but I don't know if they're out of my league. I'm a bit of an issue, and they look normal, and I don't, and all these like the closest thing to normal there is. And yeah, so we started dating, and I said, you know what? And we were drinking wine and stuff, and we go out on the boat because we live close to a lake. But at that point, and I think Holly's my rock still to this day, and she has been since I first met her. And I said, you know what? 2020, this was pre-COVID. I said, it's 2020. I follow the signs, Tommy, and I think you'll appreciate this. 2020 to me was clear vision, a new start, the new millennium, but really it was clear vision, 2020. I honed in on that, and I quit drinking, I quit drugging, and I went vegan all at the same time, right then. And it wasn't more, I'm not much of a New Year's resolution guy, but for that year it was like, but I did go to Vietnam right after Christmas. So that wasn't my exact date. February 14th, 2000 was the last drink I've ever had. To this day, I've never smelled a bottle cap, nothing. It doesn't do anything for me. I'll never have another drink in my life. And as long as I can, 2020. Yeah. February 14th, 2020 is my date, my rebirth date. And it was one of my proudest moments in my life besides my kids. Yeah.
Amazing, man. I didn't know the extent of that at all. I guess like when I asked you, because I've spoken to people before, the ultra space is filled with people who have interesting pasts, right? And there's something about this kind of desire to go deep, right? And to go and like seek yourself in the mountains. And there's like a similar kind of escapism as well that I see in like those who love the trails and the mountains and ultras especially. I guess like what I'm always interested in, man, and I don't want to kind of try and revisit and like old memories and stuff, but
you can revisit anything you like, Tommy. I'm an open book. I'm in recovery. I'm always healing, but I'm an open book. I love to question myself. There's no, when people, you hear a story like that and people are sad and sorry, but I want people to learn from it if that's a thing, or I want to share my story to help people if that's a thing. I'll always be in recovery from, from my son passing away. And, I don't know if a lot of people get this, and I just want to maybe explain it because, there's a difference between sobriety and recovery. This is my opinion, but it's something I learned in treatment and things like that. Like somebody that doesn't have an issue with alcohol that just says, for health reasons, I just want to be sober. Perfect. Like that's awesome. Like I wish I could have done that. But for me, and we learn this in treatment and counseling and things like this, is we need to go a little bit deeper to actually find out what maybe caused the issues, because, the theory is the drug addiction and the alcoholism, which I had well before maybe not even alcoholism, it was more drugs. Just the alcohol was the gateway to go down that path for a weekend, for a week, for a month, whatever it was. But we need the drugs and the alcohol are actually the symptom of the problem. The problem's much deeper. So we need to go in and tinker around and find out what that is. So that's recovery. And I'll always be in recovery, and I like it. It's learning, it's growing, it's, the meditation now takes me so deep. There's some scary stuff that even comes up with that when you string that together for months at a time. And, but yeah, if I can share my story, help somebody out, that's a win.
Yeah.
I think it's common with people that lose close family members that you don't want it to be in vain. I think that's very common. You want to help somebody. If you're lost, you're learning after you've gone through all the steps of grief, that's one that you feel good about, giving back to the community. Like for a long time, Tommy, it was, giving back at the food bank, and now it's if I can give back through this coaching help people run 100-milers, because the 100-milers, we can get into it anytime you want, are such a super special distance to me. When I found the 100-miler after it went from Anton Kripicka on YouTube to running 50Ks to 100Ks, which I find those are great events. I actually love 50Ks because they're very physical, they're fast, my endorphins get jacked up, we can go for lunch afterwards. Love it, right? But the 100-miler, when I found it, I just went, I was like, this is it. And it's magic. And it's, it took me about 400 milers to figure out that for me anyway, and we all have different whys. And I quite often going into my why, like, what's your why? What is it? Are you actually trying to punish yourself out there for the things you've done? Are you trying to push yourself through the darkness? And yeah, it's crazy. So the first probably 300, 400, 500 milers, I thought we were in competition with everybody. Like we're trying to get on the podium. I got to come in and out of the aid station, and we gotta go. And I learned after that there's a lot, and that was great. I mean, that's a fun way to run. But after doing more 100-milers, it kicked into me that the self-transcendence and what happens out there, that's the magic. Like my most favorite 100-milers I've done have been, if somebody looked time-wise, my worst time ones, if that's a thing, are the best, the ones that I cherish the most, because they were so hard and so savage that my brain was trying to tell me trying to do every trick to get me to stop. And here's the magic, Tommy. It's when you're a drug addict, not every drug addict wants to be a drug addict. You're phoning the drug dealer 6 times on a weekend and you don't want to anymore. That's the same, it's the exact same lever in the brain that your mind is trying to pull to tell you to keep going with this party that the brain is trying to do to stop you at 100-miler. It's exactly the same. So I've been deep in 100-milers with my brain just trying to trick me to stop. And I'll tell myself, I'll level up and be like, Rob, like if you're going to stop right now without a bone sticking out of you, because I don't care about the time. I care about the cutoff time, of course, but I'm going to get there. And when it's so hard and I'm so broken down, and there's those thoughts, we've all had them. Any 100-milers had the thoughts. And, I say, Rob, if you're willing to stop and DNF right now, DNF yourself. What else are you willing to compromise in your life? You going to call that guy again? You going to go down that road again? And that's powerful. I haven't had to pull that emergency brake on myself too many times, but there's been a few times when, the internal dialogue is like, no, like I'm not willing to compromise my values. It goes deep. And, when they go that deep, it's special for me. I love it.
That's I think the fascinating thing, is this internal dialogue. And the thing that I find fascinating about people in recovery or people with stories about dependence on substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs, whatever it is that I think people call it escapism quite a lot. I think escapism can maybe be seen as like, oh, I'm chasing oblivion. I want to escape into this world of, nice feelings and, whatever. But I think it's really more a desire to quieten the mind. It's like there's so much going on up there. I can't deal with it. I can't face it. I don't know myself. I don't know my thoughts, and I don't want to because it's too much to face. And drugs have an amazing ability, and alcohol has an amazing ability of numbing all that out and stopping you from having to face those things. I think the fascinating thing to me is that running an ultra marathon, especially the 100-mile distance, or for anyone on whatever level, that sort of distance that really, really tests you. It's this like, it is required that you face your thoughts.
Oh yeah. It's the magic.
And so it's like this opposite. It's amazing to see people go from someone who tried to quieten and numb those thoughts and escape those thoughts and run away from them with substances, to someone who is brave enough to face them in the context of an ultra.
Well said. I like it. Absolutely.
Do you find I guess, like, I don't know if you tried other things, but do you find that there's something powerful about the context of an ultra? Like, we talk a lot about chasing the mind, chasing, these distances and like facing our thoughts and all that sort of stuff. But the context is this environment you're in. It's the mountains, right? Whether you're in BC or Washington State or wherever else,
Absolutely.
Thailand or whatever. Is there something about the nature that you're surrounded by that sort of draws you in?
I want to take a moment to quickly mention Innovate. Innovate make the best trail running shoes that I have. I have tried many, many different types of trail running shoes, and Innovate are right at the top as my favorite. From the Trail Flies to the Max version to the Trail Talons, the Trail Talon Speeds, they're all phenomenal shoes. If you're looking for something that is foot-shaped, if you're looking for a more minimal option, you can find that in their array of shoes. If you're looking for something that is nimble but does have a decent amount of solid cushioning, you can get a Max version of one of their shoes. If you're looking for shoes with proper lugs, so, quite often trail running shoes are just glorified road running shoes with some lugs on the bottom. Innovate makes them differently. They actually think about grip. They actually think about how it's going to feel running over technical terrain. Go to Innovate, get some proper trail shoes that are protected on the upper and grippy underfoot. I could say so much more about why I love their shoes. Go and experience them for yourself. Innovate, INOV8.com. Use the link in the show notes to generate a code and get 15% off. Back to the show.
100%, Tommy. I mean, the mountains are very special, and some of the vibes that come out of the mountains. And I'll relay a story on what you say there. The trees are also powerful. There's a race out of Washington State that Holly and I just went to a couple of weeks ago on Orcas Island. It's called the Orcas Island 100 miler on an island just off of Washington State. So we've been there 3 times. I didn't run this year because I still had an illness left over from Thailand, but that island with those old growth trees and these amazing rainforest trails. If you come back, Tom, you got to run the Orcas Island 100.
I have to come back.
It's a February race. I didn't know how to, and I grew up in the rainforest on Vancouver Island, and I really got away from the trees, and I didn't know how powerful they were. The trees on that island hit me like some amazing mountain ranges that we've been in. So you're totally right. It's the nature, being alone. I mean, it's almost a cliche to talk about when you're, an ultra endurance runner nowadays, like all these things, but it's so true. When you're self-aware and you keep your eyes open and you listen and you see things and you feel things. I run by everything's by feel. I'm a gut person, every decision I make is on a vibe, on a feel. I'm not money motivated. It could be a better job or whatever. If something doesn't feel right, we won't go that way. Or if something's a hard no, or if you're up in the mountains, and maybe there's an avid risk and somebody has a gut feeling, we all turn around. It's just no questions asked, right? We won't talk each other into it. No, we're done. And yeah, there's power in nature, getting away from the noise of life, and I think even running the 100 milers themselves, part of it is getting away from the noise. Because I primarily never have a pacer. My girlfriend is out there running herself, so I don't have a crew. We don't talk to each other on the phone. If the phone's not mandatory gear, I don't take it. And I think just getting away from all the noise is special to me. That's just the way I like to run it. And it's special out there. There's certain mountain ranges in the world that I get a vibe from, like, not just beautiful mountains. Like, no. I'll tell you, the Tetons in Wyoming, I was there last year. There is a vibe from the Idaho side. You come in from the Idaho side, not the Jackson, Wyoming side. Both sides are amazing. It's got probably the biggest draw out of any mountain range I've ever been to. And I mean, here's a funny story that maybe, because I went to Mont Blanc also last year, same summer, Monte Rosa, Mont Blanc, and the trail network I only went to the Chamonix side, and I was also in Switzerland on the Monte Rosa side. beautiful mountains, like probably some of the most aesthetic mountains, the trail network, the community, the town, the vibe, just the culture is so cool. Like, you know, we go to Whistler in BC a lot, and, you know, Whistler just wants to be Chamonix so bad, but it's kind of this little counterfeit version, right? But Chamonix is cool. But the funny thing is, and because I didn't take the train, I walked from Switzerland into Chamonix. And,
no way.
yeah. So when I got to the col de Bomb or whatever it is from the Swiss side, and I got there like, oh, it was a beautiful sunny day, Mont Blanc, the Massif, the Aiguille de Midi, the trails going everywhere. I was blown away. But I didn't get the vibe. It didn't hit me deep into my soul. And so I journal on that and I meditate on that. And, you know, think about different sometimes. My only thought, Tommy, is that maybe Mont Blanc has been so drilled and pinned and tunneled through that maybe it lost a bit of its soul. You know, and I was sad. I was a little sad when I thought about that, you know?
That's super interesting. Yeah, a lot of people in the climbing world, they talk about kind of how some of the rock faces are ruined with like climbers like putting in pegs and all that sort of stuff. I agree. I mean, I'm not much of I guess I am spiritual in reality. I think I've always been like reluctant to say I am, but I guess I am in some ways. And there are some places that you go where there is just an energy that is undeniable, and people talk about the energy. And like I was in Egypt earlier this year in the mountains of Sinai. A lot of Abrahamic religious past and a lot of history there. And it's barren. It's an energy I've never felt in any place before. It's so unique. And I just can't describe it. But it is to me undeniable that there is some different vibe there.
Cool.
And I don't know where it comes from. I don't think it means anything in particular, but I agree. I think that, and I think it's personal as well. People have personal connections with certain places, and I think like when we think about mountains and trees, the one thing that kind of sticks with me when I'm in the mountains is just the age of everything.
Yes.
And how young I am, and even if I was 85 years old, how young I'd be in comparison to the age of everything I'm surrounded by, and how like steadfast and present your surroundings are. And when I'm doing some sort of race, I mean, I get lost in the race, of course, but then sometimes I'm lost in my own thoughts, right? And I'm thinking about the fact that I just get to do this one thing. It's just focus on this one thing, and I can be like extremely present. And how like we overcomplicate life, like we overcomplicate all of these tasks we have to do for the day, and our reputation or our legacy or like how well we're doing and all this sort of stuff. But for me, the environment and nature and the mountains, and especially when you get to run across them, you're kind of reminded of this amazing lesson that it's all really quite simple, this life we're living, because it just is. Everything just is, right?
Yeah, totally. I'd say you're pretty spiritual, Tommy.
I reckon I am, yeah.
I like it. Wicked. But yeah, totally. I mean, on that note too, when I'm in some of these races, sometimes, I don't do this all the time, but I'll do a little research on the pioneers and the settlers that settled that area, whether it's I was doing the Monte Rosa last year, and it's the Swiss mountaineers. The Swiss mountaineers actually have a lot of history in British Columbia in the Rocky Mountains. The Swiss came there, did a lot of the first ascents in Rogers Pass, where Holly and I go in the backcountry. And so that drew me to the Swiss culture. So when I get deep in these races, I also think about the guys 300 or 400 years ago, and I'm hurting, and I got technical gear on. I got shoes on with Vibram soles, and I got 5-finger socks with lube on. And I'm thinking about the guys with the leather boots and just the wool sweaters, and that'll kind of, that tunes me up sometimes. And I'm like, yep, if you can't do this now, and those guys were doing it, they were ascending, they're going higher than you're going right now, and you got this. And those things, I like those.
There's something powerful about knowing the history of a place as well when you go there.
Yeah,
you know,
it's fun.
I think often the more I know about a place that I'm going, the more fascinated I am about it, you know, because you start to see things and you see reasons for them and you know about why they're there, or you can tell stories about certain things and imagine what would be happening. Something fascinating about that for sure.
Totally. Yeah, it's magic.
Magic. So, man, I know that like we can talk about ultras all day long. You've done 20 of them. Have you done 20 100 milers?
20, low 20s somewhere, 21 or 22. Yeah. Somewhere in
I
there.
love to talk though about the kind of day-to-day of training and the discipline and routine of it all. Has running changed what your kind of day-to-day feels like?
Well, I think running is my identity. I mean, you know, I guess I don't really Holly and I live a pretty good life, and we run like if we were going for a holiday, like we went to Thailand this winter, there's a 100-miler, that kind of set the course that let's go there. We'll go to Thailand, we'll do a 100-miler there, and then we'll stay for a while. And then, you know, as we're recovering from that one, a 100K popped up in Cambodia. So we flew to Cambodia.
No way.
You know, all our holidays are kind of centered around an event or a race. You know, we've done, you know, Mexico, the US, and Monte Rosa, and over at Switzerland, which is amazing. Thailand, a couple of times. Actually, we've done a couple of different races in Thailand over the years. And because Canada, we just don't have enough 100-milers. We need more.
Right.
Because we've got some great mountains. And so, yeah, I mean, the day-to-day and training's a funny thing.
Yeah.
As I get a little older and my why gets more changed or refined or reformatted, I don't even use the word training much, Tommy. Like if I catch myself talking about training, I'm like, you know, because training's so binary. You know, I would consider myself, I guess, maybe in the soul runner camp. I wouldn't say I started out as a soul runner because maybe I didn't even know what that was. So I run by feel now. Like I know how many kilometers I probably should run in a week, but if I want to run a few more because I'm feeling good, I'll run a few more. And if I don't get that target, I don't double arrow myself, as the Buddhas say. And, you know, I didn't get the 100 miles, so that's bad, but now I'm going to dwell on that and make it double as bad. If I don't get the mileage for some week because something life circumstance popped up, I don't worry about it. I don't worry about going and getting it the following week. Right now I'm in a work camp. There's a great gym here actually, and I'm not a treadmill guy, obviously, as a soul runner, but that's all I got. I'm doing a 100-miler next week. Probably in some people's standards, way undertrained. And, but that's not my why. I'm going to go in. I'm very confident in my ability to finish it. And if I'm the lantern, I'm not sure what you guys call it in Europe. We call the finisher the lantern in Canada. It's like the green lantern is what they used to put on the back of the freight trains, the cabooses. So that's the last car to come by the train. So, you know, if I'm the lantern at the race and coming in the golden hour, so be it. You know, and I mean, there's going to be good community, lots of camaraderie. You know, all I know is about, you know, the training or the getting the volume we think we need. It's just going to hurt less a little coming out the back end. I won't be as stiff if I do it properly.
Yeah, well, I think it's actually an interesting topic. Like, as a coach, I obviously will program certain sessions for people, and I will kind of tell people they need to do this and that in the week. But I try and be as non-prescriptive as I possibly can. Like, I think there is massive value. Call it soul running or running by feel. I seriously believe there is massive value in tuning in with the body and understanding how you feel. And I think too many runners are too obsessed with, well, firstly, they're obsessed so much with their performance, so much so that they will sacrifice listening to their body and how they feel just to get the numbers on their watch or just to get the kind of weekly mileage that they think they need in order to perform, instead of just leaning into the love of, you know, doing the thing that feels right at the time. And the more, as I've trained over the years, the more and more I have tuned in with how I feel, the more I felt excited to go to the gym and do squats, because I feel like that's what my body needs. I need to actually, I think that's going to be great for it. Or the more excited I am to, I'm going to add a few more kilometers on today just because I'm feeling good and I feel like I can push. Or I'm going to up the pace and turn this into a progression run. There's so much value in that. And actually, Courtney Dauwalter is like the sort of poster child for training by feel. She's got so far with her ultra running, and she never really followed any sort of program. She just went out and ran and trained by feel and thought, you know what, I'm going to smash some hills here. I'm going to lean into this. I think when you really do start to tune into how you feel and what your body needs, you can actually optimize your training a lot better. And I wonder whether actually, because you have such a deep love for running and getting out there and being in nature, it drives your training in a way that you might not even recognize.
Yeah, that's a good point, Tommy. And on that note, I think it's, as a coach, and I've done the coaching certification. I got, and I know the theory and, the physiology and, where the blocks all go. And I totally don't disagree with any of that. I think as a coach, there's a lot of psychology based on who maybe your runners are. Some people, if you gave them a plan, like if you gave me a plan, for instance, and I had to put it on my fridge, and Tuesday said I was going to do an hour and a half, I'd probably puke in my mouth, right? Like, really. But there's some people, like, because I have a thing called pick it and stick it. So on Monday night, I'll be like, I'm going to go run 2 hours on this trail. I pretty much know the loop. And if it ends up going a little longer, it'll go a little longer, but I never go shorter than 2 hours. I think that's I call it pick it and stick it. And because when you're in a race, you can't choose where the finish line is. So if the brain, because we know the brain is so powerful, when you start going and doing it, unless you're injured, then everything I'm saying is out the window. But if you decide to go run for 2 hours and you make it an hour and 35, because you're starting to slag, maybe your legs are a bit sore, the brain's going to remember that. And when you're in that 100-miler and it's 3 a.m. and it's raining, you're 75 miles in, it's going to remember how to stop you. Yeah. So that, that's, to me, in my training or in my philosophy, that's a huge one. What you're going to do, you got to do it, or else don't go out that day. If you're feeling not good and you're just going to go give it a whirl and see how it feels, take the day off. But back to what I was saying before, I think there's psychology with the runner that you may be trying to coach. Some people do well with the Monday to Friday on the fridge. They can look at it. They go run for an hour and a half. Some people love that. It's a personality trait. Some people couldn't just go freestyle it, I don't think.
Yeah,
I agree.
The
structure. They need the structure. They love the structure. And then they, which is good, because then what that does for that type of personality, it gives them confidence when they're in the event. I did the training. Yeah. I'm confident that when it does go dark, I'll draw on that training. So 2 different philosophies from 2 different type of personality traits, and they're both exactly right. Yeah. Just 2 different people.
I'm interested. Do you do anything outside of your running? Because what you were mentioning there with like the kind of training the mind, or like, pick it and stick it. If you've said to yourself you're doing 2 hours, do 2 hours, because your mind will remember that. Is there anything else outside of your running that you do that kind of trains the mind? Like, for example, for me in the morning, I'll do like breath work and I'll do breath holds and stuff. And holding your breath for like 2 minutes, I can tell you for free that you'll be fighting your own mind a minute and a half in, Do you do anything else outside of your running that kind of tests your mental capacity or forces you to have conversations with yourself?
I don't, Tommy. I probably wish I did. I'm really trying to work on a lot of meditation, visualization. No, I don't really test myself in a lot of other ways. Sometimes I think I'm just a one-trick pony. I'm like, you need another hobby. Maybe I should try fly fishing, or but it's everything, and maybe it comes back to my addictive personality. And I wouldn't say I'm addicted.
Oh man, I was having an identity crisis about this earlier in the year. I was like, I need a new hobby.
Right? Yeah. Like fly fishing maybe, or I don't know if I can go full on golf or nothing, but maybe something else. But Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty lit up by running, and I guess maybe calling myself a one-trick pony, I'm not too ashamed of it. But
No, I mean, you got to do what you like, right? I mean, there's no reason to like force yourself into something. I was having an interesting conversation yesterday with someone I'm out with, about like my coaching, my training and stuff. And there's just certain things that I program in that are intentionally, that it's not really that I'm programming them in because of the physiological adaptation. It's obviously that's helpful, but some of it is, I want people to look at it and go, you know, there's one thing, for example, like in some of my programs, I get people to do 3 rounds of 50 squats, just like no weights, just to full squats, 50 of them, 3 rounds of it. And the number of people who have been like, is that a mistake? Is it supposed to be 50? And I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be 50 because it's just 150 squats just seems like unreasonable.
Oh yeah.
And so you know, many people look at that and they're just like, oh, that's ridiculous. But you're going through it, and it's just actually what it's supposed to be there for is programming the mind to kind of overcome this, what feels like a unbelievable task. Like 150 squats feels ridiculous, but one by one you get through it, and you're practicing what's required 80 miles into a 100 miler. You know, it's all about this kind of mind game.
I like it. Yeah, maybe I might even start it tomorrow morning. Who knows?
Yeah, do it, man. Yeah,
I will, totally.
So what is it then about ultra specifically that like kept you in? Like if you were to say there's like 1 or 2 things, because you're launching this coaching, you're helping people who maybe have kind of similar tumultuous stories in their past and want to overcome these sorts of things that you've discussed. Like what is it that you think is specific about ultra running that is unique and better than other things for doing so?
Yeah, I mean, that might be going out on a limb because there's a lot of things I haven't done, so I don't know if it's better, but it's definitely what we like to do for sure, as you know. The community is, it's cliche to say, but the community is second to none. And when we just did Orcas Island a couple of weeks ago, Holly ran, I didn't, kind of crewed a few friends, but just there's a bunch of people that come back there that I've, not even spoken with, but I feel like I have a bond with them. I saw them there last year. We saw them there the year before. Next year, I'm going to make a point to actually go up and meet them all. But I feel like there's an unspoken, kind of like the roots of the trees underneath the soil. You know, they're all interconnected. Yeah. They don't speak. We don't see them, but there's a connection there to help hold up the trees. And, the community's pretty good. And, back to recovery, when you're having this community that's the amazing second to none community that's already built for you, that you just have to come in, and it's so welcoming and inviting. That's magic as well, so that's kind of something that I'm trying to, in my program, trying to help people out, because I truly believe there's magic in running 100 milers. And as you touched on, Tommy, in the coaching program that I'm looking to help some people with, it's not about putting people on the podium. It's not, it's not about placements. If that's where they want to go, we'll drive down on that too. We'll do speed blocks, thresholds, or, endurance runs. We'll do the whole blocks if that's where they want to go. But I think for people in recovery, the magic is just get running to get the endorphins, pick me up off the floor from my experience. And we do enough training to not get injured, right? Obviously, that's huge. I don't believe in the couched 100 miler, but I don't think maybe we need to put all this base in for years and years, unless maybe we're trying to, win a big event or something. So kind of what I'm trying to do is just take people that are willing to move to the next step, get healthy, think healthy, eat healthy, even though nutrition's not a part of my plan, because I don't really... I know what my nutrition plan is and I love it, but I will never tell somebody they have to do that to be a 100-mile runner in my philosophy. Sure. It's a savage mindset because it's going to be hard. And, I think maybe a coaching program that just says run this for 4 months and go do it. I I think the mindset is a huge part of that, and you have to be ready for what's going to come, and it's probably going to come around mile 45 to 85. There's going to be some dark thoughts, and like I say, it's the same as drug addiction. When you do, in your heart and your soul, you don't want to go get high. It's the same as in your heart and your soul, you don't want to quit that race, but the mind is saying that's what we're doing. There's magic. There's magic to complete 100-miler to keep yourself sober. I think that's my philosophy.
You talk a lot about, you know, this transformation, and I think a lot of people get lost in thinking that you've changed. And, you know, you can correct me here if I'm absolutely wrong about this, but it feels like, and I've spoken to other people who've gone through this sort of similar quote unquote transformation, it feels like rather than you changing, you've, as cliche as this might sound, you've found yourself. Is that relatively accurate to say?
Yeah, I think the term I use, and we're both on the same page, is rebuilt myself.
Sure.
You know, when you hit rock bottom, you have to, and in recovery, the word I've used a few times, you have to rebuild yourself from the ground up. You have to, things that may have happened to you as a child, you have to expose them again. You can't pollute them with drugs and alcohol anymore. You actually have to look at them. So,
yeah, I think there's something beautiful in like you going through this life experience, finding something that has helped you to rebuild who you are, and, you know, helping others do the same. You know, there's a real desire. I think there's a true desire from you. I think this is what's so refreshing, is that there's a true desire from you to help people through this vessel of ultra running, because this is, you know, what you know.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of coaches out there who would say, I can get you results. This is my promise. It is that you can run this race in this time. Whereas what really matters to people, and the reason why 90% of people who run ultras is because they want to discover something about themselves. They want to overcome, and they want to have these, you know, these things that other people have, these revelations of things that other people have found in this sport. They want to also find that. That's your driving force, right?
Yeah, you're totally right, Tommy. I mean, 100-milers saved my life. Like I love it. Like they light me up so much. Like I'm an ultra runner, but I love the 100-mile distance. I'm going to finally step up to a 200-miler this summer. It didn't happen. It didn't happen a couple of years ago, but I'm going to step up. I want to see. I don't know how it's going to go. Maybe it's too much suffering for me. Maybe I like 20 hours of suffering. You know, maybe I like 15 hours of fun running and 20 hours of suffering. I don't know. Like 60 hours of suffering might just be too much, but we're going to give it a whirl. But
which one are you doing?
I'm going to do the Divide in Canada a couple of years ago. The Divide 200. So, which is cool because that was my first 100-miler. Was with those guys, the Sinister Sports guys. So it's kind of coming full circle there. But I want to, the coaches that are looking to put people and make them fast runners and great runners, like those are great coaches. They understand the theory, and, you know, people that want to do that in their running, you know, that's amazing. But there's so many of us, and you hear it all the time. I mean, there's so many podcasts and articles on, you know, people, and it's not just drug addiction. It's, you know, childhood stuff or anything in life. We've all got issues, but there's something that happens out there. You know, when you pay attention, I always say when you pay attention and you keep your eyes open and listen, you see stuff differently. And I think, you know, running ultra marathons is the gateway to that. It opens, it's almost like doing LSD. You get this mind expanding stuff, and it just keeps getting better and better. Maybe I'm addicted to them. I don't know. I'm an addictive personality, so it could be, but I'll take it. I really will. You know, if somebody says you're running from something or you're swapping one for the other, I'll take it, because, you know, I know how dark it was and how good it is now. Sobriety is good. My life is good. I eat well. I try and think well. I try and, you know, speak well. And I don't mean speak well in a eloquent type of way. I mean, I try and speak positive. You know, we try and lift each other up, be kind. Took a long time to get there. I wouldn't say I was the best person in my 20s and 30s, but in the rebuild of Rob, these elements get, like bricks get stacked on top of each other. And and so where I'm at with the coaching program, which is interesting because, like I was talking about earlier, there's a lot of drug addiction in the industrial construction in Canada. We're oil field, we're out of town, away from our families, so there's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of money. People. It's kind of like the last day of school. Last day of school comes, we're going hard. Well, in my old days, and even guys I'm working with right now today, that's what it is when they get out of here and they're going to go hard for a week. And I'm a firm believer that, every drug addict or every person with issues doesn't really want to be. In their heart and their soul, most people are good. They're good people. We're good people, but we just, we got issues. And if I can find somebody that's maybe heard of Goggins or Cam Haines or, these types, or maybe they just hear me talk about it, how passionate it is, and they're on that cusp, like they want to change their life. And if I can help them out and, we start slow and we get going, and that's what I'm looking for. I call it my passion project. It's not money motivated at all. It's just, I'm trying to give back. I'm trying to honor myself and also honor my son. I think that's a common thing, and that means a lot to me.
One final question then before we sort of land the plane. What would you say to people who, you must get this as well. Like you talk to people about your 100-milers and, all these races and amazing things you've done, and people will probably say, I could never do that.
Totally.
Like I'm not capable. Like, what would you say to someone who is going through it, maybe specifically, your target audience who maybe depending on certain substances and leaning on these things, and they think they have a view of themselves, which is quite common of those who are, abusive of substances, that they could never, that's something other people do. It's not their own thing and they're not capable. What would you say to someone who is sort of currently in that mindset that they don't think they could actually do one of these 100-milers?
Oh, I told it to a guy today, actually. Least likely to succeed right here.
Right.
Doing it. We can all do it, If you would have told me 20 years ago, Tommy, this is where I'd be right now, I'd laugh. What's the old cliche? I don't even like to drive that far, But yeah, if I can do it, you can do it. And if you think your knees are sore, well, we'll do some squats and we'll get your knees stronger. The knees are fine. They're good. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. That's totally. And, the guys, just to back that part up, I mean, the guys that I'm looking to really help, they're still dabbling. They don't want it. I can't help the ones that are still really entrenched in the addictions that don't want to change, because that's almost step one. We got to put that to the side first. And even in my experience, Tommy, if I get a guy trail running that's never trail ran before, and even if they get off the drugs, they might get an endorphin rush. And then, how you get the crash after a run, you get the rush and then you crash a little bit. Sometimes that's enough to maybe go use again because you want to chase that rush. That was a bit of a pitfall that I fell into at first.
No way.
So
super interesting.
It's kind of like being aware in a 100-miler when the hurt's going to come and push through it, or maybe you're running at altitude, in the high mountains. Just, it helps to know what's going to happen when you're at altitude, whether or not somebody tells you, hey, you're going to get a little bit tired, you're going to move slower, maybe your stomach's going to turn. If you can tell them, like, hey, you might go out for a little 5K because you're brand new to running, and it's really going to get your heart rate jacked and you're going to be really excited when you get home. But once that kind of levels down a little bit, don't go chasing that artificially, and then once we can get through that, then it's like, okay, I want to go do this.
Yeah.
Then we work the program. And like I was saying, it's just running and it's grinding up the mountains. We're not looking for speed, just looking to get her done. We're looking to override the brain.
And it's imperfect.
That's the magic.
It's messy. It's imperfect. It doesn't happen
totally.
It doesn't happen like it, it's not like, oh, I went for a run and then it changed my life and I transformed myself. No, it's like you went for a run and you started the process of building yourself back up.
That's well put. Absolutely. It's the process,
Well, Rob, I appreciate you coming on, man. We had a bit of technical difficulties coming through, but we made it through. And I appreciate also you sharing your story, being open enough to come on, talk about what you've been through and share what you're this passion project of yours, trying to help others to find what is clearly a true love for ultra running, a true love for the 100-mile distance. You are a real one. And I hope we meet again, maybe in the mountains.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy. It's a pleasure to chat with you again, and it's a pleasure to be on here and tell my story. And it's great seeing you. And I love the pod, dude. Keep it going. Keep it real. Say what you got to say, and that's it, dude.
Nice one, brother. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Rob. I think something I'll never forget from that conversation is a reminder of the age of our surroundings when we're in nature. I quite often seek the mountains, but I forget about the forest and the trees that are as awe-inspiring as the mountains. And Rob reminded me of that. Sometimes an environment can have an energy specific to that environment. I do believe that. And I think you can, if you choose to, tune in with it. Thanks, Rob, for coming on. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed the podcast as a whole, I would love it if you subscribed, liked, followed, engaged, and shared. It does the podcast wonders if you rate it. So please do spend a couple of moments to tap your screen, rate the podcast on the platform you're listening to it on, run the runnable, keep showing up for yourself, and I'll see you next time.